Start. Nerd life sets us miles apart. Now we're in high demand, cause the world don't turn without us, man. We rock.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
It's the 10 Hat Commandments. Can't tell me nothing about this crypto. This O-Day, these forensics, strictly for my hackers. Hackers on the grind, I ain't forget you. All my port scanners, all my SQL injectors, my exploit devs. I've been in this game for years. It made me an animal. There's rules to these bits. Man page for the manual, a step-by-step booklet for you to get your back doors patched, not your house ransacked. Rule number uno, never let no one know how much code you hold, cause you know the 0-day heap will spray, clear the way if the log file touch, get your hard line cut. Number 2, never let them know your next move. Don't you know bad boys move in silence and pirate, taken from your wireless. I done flashed mad chips with these hacks just to patch these bits. Number 3, never trust nobody. IRC is bad luck when you chat too much. Logged and tapped up, feds got mass plugs. They'll be waiting with the warrant to snatch your stash up. Number 4, know you heard this before. Shut the f up. Number 5, never do no hacks where you rest at. I don't care if you own a house, use a bounce. Number 6, any log, clear text, forget it. Encrypt all your data, take those bytes off the record. 7, this rule is so underrated. Keep identities and profiles completely separated. Cookies and lies don't mix like 2 bits and 1 snitch. Find yourself Guantanamo quick. Number 8, never keep no weight on you. Those cats that run your hacks can jack coins too. Number 9 should have been number 1 to me. Use your right to your attorney, keep away from police. If people think you're talking, they won't give an option. They'll be hopping on your box and ready to start doxing. Number 10, shut the actual f up. The easiest of rules, but it still bears repeating, cause you'll want the recognition for your revenue increasing. Discard accounts, randomized handles. Law enforcement loves attacks on side channels. Burn your identities, credit card cancel. Avoid being the topic of a DEF CON panel. Don't bet your future on just a few tools. Even onion sites can have leaks too. Be smart about your OPSEC, think things through. They found DPR, they'll come find you. It's true, Hack King. Use Signal, use Tor.
There ain't no rats up in the channel, cause we ain't need another low sex scandal. Beat the Gandalf, wizardry, ghosting on the enemy. BNC, bouncing up my single through a Pringles. Cantana, ain't nobody run the span better than the Godfather. Globe trotting by Dada, Don Dada, Don Data, Don Draper, others internet paper, still killing cold capers. Got your neighbors wireless up in a tizzy, cause I plant little Trojans up in every major city. What you think I do on tour? Rap don't pay the bills, I'm chaotic.
And it is time. What is up, everyone? Hey, my name is Tyler. Super excited to have you taking the time to hang out with me tonight. Just want to let you know what you stumbled across. I am a pen tester by day, and at night I jump on here and talk more about pen testing and hacking because I don't have much for hobbies besides hanging out with my kids. Do want to let you know that I am live right now on 3 different platforms. You can join me on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Twitch. On YouTube and LinkedIn, I just stream under my name, Tyler Ramsbey, and over on Twitch, I stream under the name Hack_Smarter. So YouTube and LinkedIn is Tyler Ramsbey. Twitch, it is Hack_Smarter. Let me get chat pulled up and scroll to the top. Zero Cool with the first blood in chat, as he's done every single time for as long as I can remember. No one's ever going to beat you, dude. Congratulations. We got Sank Logic. What is up? We got S versus J face off. I believe he is my stopwatch. Good to have you back. We got The Operator. We got Muhammad. We got another Muhammad. Good to have both of you here. We have the one and only Malware Cube, which is crazy because, dude, I was just watching you. Was that like 8 hours ago, I think? I was watching, well, I joined late, but I rewinded the stream and then watched you do some crazy unraveling some obfuscated PowerShell. So that was fun to watch. What up, Nito? Good to have you here. What up, Codex? And oh my, finally catching the stream. You were in the right place at the right time, my friend. Scrolling. We got Chris. What up, Chris? We got 444C. We got the one and only Nox Lumens. Let's see, Hoy Manoy. Good to have you here as well. Frozen Fusion with the dinosaur emoji over on Twitch. How's the day going? Going good for me. Let me scroll. We got Matthias. We got Suspect. We got Harrison Wells. We got Death Wish Show. Haxerbite. And it looks like a bunch of other people who just haven't said anything in the chat yet, and that's totally fine. Let me know where you're joining from. Would love to hear from you. One real quick thing before we dive in. I always forget to get this pulled up before I actually jump on stream. Let me log in here real quick on Ko-Fi. Now, if you appreciate all of the content I give out for free, you should come support me on Ko-Fi. You can send me $1. You can send me $1,000. You can join the membership, whatever you want to do. Let me copy the link right here, and I'll drop the link in the chat. But I always want to begin by shouting out anyone who has joined Ko-Fi recently. So looking at it right now, I have 2 people to get out. 3 people. 3 people have joined just in the past day, maybe more. Let me hit see. I want to make sure I don't miss anyone. All right, now we got 3 people just in the past day. We have James L. With a one-time gift of $45. You are amazing. Thank you for your generosity. We got the real Bilbo upping his membership. I believe Bilbo was on the thank you plan or maybe gave a one-time gift, but the real Bilbo has joined the Hack Smarter support plan, which is $50 or more a month. What that gives him access to is early access to all my courses. So the intro to AWS pen testing course I'm working on right now, I'm planning on having that ready for beta testers early next week, like Monday. And those in the Hack Smarter support plan will get access before everybody else to beta test it, and I will design parts of the course based on their feedback. So thank you, The Real Bilbo, for joining the cool club with the Hack Smarter support plan. And I have another person who joined the Hack Smarter support plan, Cyber Research. Thank you so much for your generosity and your support. Now, you don't have to be a Ko-Fi member to get access to my courses. My first course, Intro to Hacking Methodology, is out on Simply Cyber Academy, completely free. You can sign up right now, no strings attached. Let me drop a link real quick to Simply Cyber Academy. I totally did that backwards. It's academy.simplycyber.io. There we go. academy.simplycyber.io. You can access my Intro to Hacking Methodology full course completely free, and my AWS pen testing course, which I'm literally making it while I stream. So you don't have to pay anything, and you still get to see the full behind the scenes. You get to see me work through every lab, make every single video. It's a lot of fun, at least for me, to have you guys hanging out. But that's what we are working on right now. That course will release on Monday, May 12th. It will be $20 for lifetime access. No subscription needed. $20 you pay at one time, you get lifetime access, including all updates. And guys, I have some exciting news about that course hot off the press as of today. As a special thank you to every single person who purchased the course and works all the way through it, here's a few things that you're going to get. Number 1, you'll get a certificate of completion. They look really nice. It comes with CEU hours, so you can apply them to whatever you need to. But in addition to the certificate of completion, you are going to get a exclusive 25% off discount for the Try Hack Me Cloud Pass. They have Pass for AWS and Azure, and completing my course will give you, once again, exclusive discount of 25% off to continue your learning. You will also get an exclusive 25% off discount for Pwn Labs. If you want to get a Pwn Labs premium license, we did a free lab for them, I think, in last night's stream, but you'll get 25% off a subscription to Pwn Labs. But there's more. You will also get an exclusive 25% off discount to create an account at cybr.com. They also have incredible courses and hands-on labs for AWS. Once again, all of that comes with just completing my course, and that gives you more value than even the $20 you are paying for the course. So, like, what do you have to lose when the course comes out? And finally, one more thing. I haven't announced this anywhere yet, I don't think. But the other cool thing is I was chatting with Try Hack Me, and they were like, yo, Tyler, can you make a video about our Azure path? And I'm actually almost all the way through their Azure path. And I was like, yeah. And they initially offered to sponsor the video. And I was like, no, don't sponsor it, because then like you guys have to approve my video. I'm restricted on what I can say, and it's just not as authentic. But I said, how about instead of sponsoring my video, you guys give me 2 vouchers that I can give away to my community. And so that's what they are doing. I'm going to have 2 vouchers. I think they're going to be 3-month vouchers, which are $400 value for their AWS and Azure Learning Pass over on Try Hack Me. And what I'm going to do with those is everyone who purchases my course in the first 2 weeks, so course comes out on May 12th, everyone who signs up for the course in the first 2 weeks, you will be entered into a drawing, and I will randomly select 2 people to win those vouchers. So once again, if you purchase my course on May 12th, first of all, you're going to get an amazing hands-on intro to AWS pen testing course. You're also going to get 25% off Try Hack Me, Cyber, and Pwn Labs, and you're going to be entered into a chance to win vouchers to the Try Hack Me Cloud Learning Pass. So like, I don't even know how much more value I can offer you guys. If you have any ideas, let me know, but those are all the things I'm working on to make sure the people who go through this course find it beneficial. Finally, for those of you who haven't been here before, although this course will be $20 for lifetime access, I'm also giving out unlimited scholarships. I don't want money to be a barrier for anyone, so when the course releases, there'll be a note in the description how you can email me, and if you email me, you're unable to afford that $20, I will send you a coupon that will cover 100% of the course, no questions asked, so that you can also go through it regardless of your ability to pay for it. All right, I think that's all of my announcements. Now, since I've been talking about this course, let me show you guys where we are at so far in this course. Drop this over here, grab this. Yes, I have 2 THM vouchers, Gene. It's going to be amazing. Here, I'll answer some questions real quick, too. What machine today? We're going to keep working on my course I'm making. Tyler, you should let us know when you're going to stream, because I woke up 1 hour earlier. I'm sorry. So here's the problem, S versus J. I don't know when I'm going to stream. A lot of you know my schedule because you've been here for a while, but guys, I work full-time as a pen tester, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. As soon as I get off work, I hang out with my kids. I have 2 young kids, as you can tell by the pictures behind me. And then my stream time literally just depends on when I can get my kids to bed. They're 8 and 5. Anyone with young kids, you know that sometimes they go to bed really good at night, and sometimes they don't. So I literally can't control when I'm going to stream. I try to start as early as I can. Last night I was able to start at 7:30. Tonight it was a little bit later because, well, I have kids, and that's part of the thing. So I apologize. It's always going to be around this time, but I can't give you a guaranteed time because it is what it is. That's just how my life works in this season of life. Gio said, Tyler, I want to learn hacking, but my methods are not working. I try Hack Me courses. I just don't feel like learning something, and Hack the Box is just confusing for me. How should I start? We just got a new Ko-Fi subscription from Pete on Software. I'm going to come celebrate you in just a second. Let me answer Gio's question, and then we'll talk about that. So Gio, I'm not just going to share this because I made the course, but I made a course to answer your question, and it's completely free, and it's all hands-on based on a Try Hack Me room I created. So I just dropped a link to the course in the chat. You have nothing to lose. Like I said, it's free. Sign up for a free account and go through my course. And I think after going through the course, you'll be at a spot where Try Hack Me, Hack the Box, those things start making a little more sense, and you can begin connecting the dots. But We just got a new Ko-Fi subscription from Pete on Software live on stream. Dude, thank you so much. Let me get this pulled up so I can celebrate you properly. Dude, amazing. So Pete on Software just joined the Hack Smarter support plan. That's $50 a month just to support what I am doing here. And Pete, look out for an email from me. As soon as I get off stream, I will send you an email with details on what I need from you to give you early access to the AWS pen testing course when it's ready for early access next week. But thank you so much for your generosity. I really do appreciate it. Oh, Jean said, all right, let me look at this. By the way, I've ran through your methodology course and it's great. Wishing there was a bit more comparing Kaido versus Burp or Kaido versus Burp, since sometimes I get confused on what features are equivalent. Yeah, good point. If you go to TCM Security, TCM Security is a YouTube channel. Just go to their YouTube channel and search for Kaido. Alex, one of the content creators over at TCM, did a really good overview of Kaido, going in more detail of the features. I recommend that video. What is up, Nefos? Good to have you here. All right, let me go ahead and show you guys what we have covered so far in this course. Let me pull chat over here so I keep my eye on the chat. But here is the course. I'll go ahead and preview it. And like I said, I've been making all of this in real time. So we have completed all of Module 1. I did all of Module 1 on Sunday night. I did all of Module 2 on Sunday night as well. It showed you how to configure a full AWS pen testing lab environment. I did all of Module 3 on a Monday night. I am the admin now. We went through IAM stuff, did some hands-on labs with IAM enumeration. We went through Module 4.0 last night about attacking S3 buckets, some theory behind it, as well as a hands-on lab and cheat sheets for it. And then tonight we're going to dive into dysfunctional functions. Now, although you are getting access to basically all of this content just by hanging out on my live stream, the benefit of purchasing the course when it comes out is, first, you get to just show appreciation for all of these things I've been working on. You get to see like the video creation process, but you're not seeing the hardest part, which is quit talking to AWS myself there. Let me turn down my audio. You're not seeing the hardest part, which is the countless hours of research, structuring the curriculum, getting things set up. I know I have Malware Cube in the chat. He knows what I'm talking about. Everything that goes into a course at this level. But in addition, like each one of these has a full written guide as well. So for example, if we drop down to creating a free tier AWS account, you can see in addition to the video walkthrough, which also has full subtitles, I have a lab guide for each one of these. Not only that, but for each one of these sections, I have cheat sheets. So like I created a full IAM enumeration cheat sheet. I have an S3 enumeration cheat sheet. I have a Lambda enumeration cheat sheet. I have an EC2 enumeration cheat sheet. I have a Privesk enumeration cheat sheet. And I also have some capstone challenges that I think are going to be a lot of fun for you to work through and to kind of have you submit a walkthrough. A big thing that opened doors for me, y'all, is just jumping on YouTube and starting to make videos. And that's where I want to encourage you to start doing it as well. Whether it's a YouTube channel or a blog, I want you to share what you are learning. So I have 2 capstone challenges. Both of these scenarios are actually created by me based on things I've seen in the real world doing AWS pen testing. So I think you'll enjoy those capstone challenges, and hopefully you can begin your journey of creating content and teaching other people. One of the best ways to learn is by teaching others. Stefan said, where can we access this? Nowhere yet. It's going to be available on Simply Cyber Academy on May 12th. But you're in the live stream, you're in the live studio audience, and you get to watch me make this course. So let me jump back, and I'll once again show you where we're at right now. I might have to hit back a few times on here. Okay. So like I said, we are in Module 5.0, dysfunctional functions, attacking Lambda functions. My goal is to get through all of this tonight. So that's the plan. Let me stop sharing my screen while I move a few different things around. What time is it for me? It is 8:41 p.m. right now, S vs. J. Let me get my slides pulled up. We always begin with the more theoretical part. You need to understand some key terms before we dive into stuff. So I need to get that pulled up real quick. What up, Layman? Give me just a second. Getting my notes pulled up now. All right. Quick question. Oh, hold on. Let me look at this. 3 a.m. cybersecurity grind. Love it. She said, well, it's a lot tonight. Good luck. We'll check on this again soon. Hopefully we make it through. 1042 for S vs. J. Let me said, how feasible is it to develop an XDR as a final project? It all depends what you mean by develop it. Like a simple POC might be possible, but a full XDR, you might be biting off more than you can chew. But I don't know. I don't know your skill set. Is there any AWS environment to test the techniques you describe in the course? Yes. We did 2 labs from Cyber and Pwn Labs, and then I'm showing you how to set up your own AWS pen testing lab. I'm not going to recover this right now. You'll just have to buy the course to get the full context. Or go back to the Sunday night live stream and I explain all of this. But we're going to be using a mixture of things. But the main thing we're using is CloudGoat, which is like a vulnerable by design AWS deployment tool. I walked everyone through creating a free tier AWS account, setting up CloudGoat so you can spin up your own lab essentially. So you can do both red team and blue team. If I just make labs for you, that is somewhat helpful, but I honestly think it's more helpful to make your own lab. It's like when you learn Active Directory pen testing. Sure, you can do AD labs from Try Hack Me or Hack the Box, but you're going to learn a lot more if you set up your own Active Directory environment, and that's what I show in the beginning of this course. So this course is heavily hands-on. There's a little bit of theory, but almost all of it is hands-on, working through different AWS pen testing scenarios. Hands-on keyboard. All right, let's go ahead and knock out the first recording, which is going to be, this is the theory side of it, about 8 to 10 minutes long. Do want to let you guys know when I'm recording this stuff, I'm not looking at chat, obviously, because I'm focused on what I'm teaching. But in between every section, I'm just make sure I have chat turned off. In between every section, I pause, look at chat, answer any questions you guys might have. So very much interactive. If you have a question about what I'm talking about, let me know in the chat, and I'll jump over to chat when I'm done with each section of recording, if that makes sense. And as you also know, I don't have a teleprompt. I don't have anything like that. I quite literally wing it every time, but I mean, you can only wing something if you're well prepared. I've spent a lot of time researching each one of these, pen testing them in the real world, and creating the slides and the content. So that's what I'm doing, but I'm saying it different every time because it's more natural for me. I don't like just reading a script. One more drink of water, then we're going to dive in. Make this full screen. All right, let's see how this looks. Look good? I think it does. Beautiful. All right, here we go. Welcome to Dysfunctional Functions. In this module, we're going to get hands-on with attacking AWS Lambda functions. Now, you may have heard of Lambda before, but maybe you don't know what they are, how they are used, or you don't know how you can actually attack them. Whether you are brand new to Lambda functions or you've used them in the past, I think you're going to learn a lot from this section. We're going to begin with a little bit of theory because there's some key terms and key architecture I need you to understand, but after we get the theory out of the way, we're going to get hands-on with diving into Lambda enumeration, both from the console and from the CLI, as well as using a tool like Pacu, which we've talked a lot about, but is sort of like Metasploit for the cloud. So let's go ahead and dive in, and we'll begin by learning about the basics of Lambda. Now, when you read about Lambda at all in AWS documentation, you will see that it's called serverless compute. Now, this is sort of an oxymoron. I mean, Nothing is truly serverless. It's just that you're not handling the backend server itself. The way this works is you upload code. Now it can be Python code, Node.js code, whatever it is. You upload code and then AWS runs it for you. They take away the server side of things. They manage the server level side of things and you worry about the code itself. That's why they call it serverless compute. It's also event driven. So the way you set up a Lambda function is a Lambda function will trigger based on whatever event you define. This could be an API gateway. So maybe when an HTTP request hits an API gateway or a website, it triggers a Lambda function to then run the code to automate something in the back end. One way a security organization might use this is you can actually set up a Lambda function to analyze malware. Let's say you submit malware over to VirusTotal and it's built into the Lambda function, and if it manages that it says, hey, this is malicious, then it can run a function to maybe write to a database and do something along those lines. So that's often how Lambda functions are used. A little more basic definitions of a Lambda function is you of course have the function. That's the actual code that you are running, the code and the runtime. This could be Python, Node.js, etc. We already talked about that a little bit. It also includes the handler, environment variables, and configuration. Second, you have an execution role. Now, we've already spent a lot of time talking about IAM, or Identity and Access Management, and we talked about how different users and roles and groups have IAM policies attached to them. Remember, that's that JSON policy document that says, hey, this is what you can do to these resources, and this is who can do it. Well, a function like a Lambda function often has an execution role assigned to it as well. This tells the Lambda function these are the permissions the Lambda function has. So for example, often a Lambda function will have access to Secrets Manager. Secrets Manager is a service in AWS to handle, well, what it sounds like is secrets. So the Lambda function might need access to a password. Well, good security practice says don't just store that password there, store it in Secret Manager. So then the role, the execution role you give to Lambda is able to grab that secret from Secret Manager, and then any other execution role permissions would be whatever you need that Lambda function to do in your environment. Finally, we have triggers as well. And we already talked about this a little bit, but that's the event-driven nature of it. This is what causes the Lambda to actually run. And then we have environment variables. Now, this is something that is often really juicy when I'm doing AWS pen testing. And I would say about 80% of the time, and I'm not exaggerating when I say this, but 80% of the time when I do an AWS pen test, I am able to find secrets being stored in environment variables insecurely. I can find full AWS access keys and secrets, which if you remember all of our terminology from previous modules, that's like a username and a password to connect to the AWS CLI. I have found database passwords. I have found passwords for Active Directory on-prem environments, allowing me to pivot from the cloud into AD. But environment variables is where you're often going to find a lot of juicy information. The other thing is these are readable by anyone who has the Lambda get function configuration permission. We're going to get hands-on with that, so I'm not going to go too deep into that right now, but we're going to have a lab that demonstrates that exact thing in just a moment. Now, when it comes to pen testing Lambda, if you are a cloud AWS pen tester, there's a few big things you want to pay attention to. First, you want to look for overly privileged execution roles. Now, I feel like a broken record a little bit, but they say to teach a subject, you have to say the same thing over and over again, and maybe people will finally get it. But here's the thing when it comes to pen testing AWS. You're not dropping crazy 0 days. Instead, what you're looking for is minor misconfigurations in the client's environment that at least seem minor on the surface, but as a pen tester, you are able to abuse. And so a few things to pay attention to is the IAM pass role. If you compromise an IAM user who has the IAM pass role permission to a Lambda function, that means you can actually take on the same permissions that the Lambda function has. So if the Lambda function can pull from Secret Manager and you can pass role, you can also pull from Secret Manager just like the Lambda function. You also want to look for, once again, anytime you see a wildcard. We've talked about this with S3. We talked about this with IAM as well. But if you see a wildcard, that's a big thing that you should pay attention to. If you're looking at an execution execution role for a Lambda function and has EC2 and then a wildcard, well, that means you can do anything to any EC2 resource. Now, I know we haven't talked about EC2s. We're going to talk about that in the next module, but EC2 is just the name that AWS uses for virtual machines in the cloud. We also have S3. Now, we have talked about S3. We did that in the prior module, so you should already know why. If it has S3 with a wildcard, that might be a permission that can be abused. And then finally, we have the secrets manager get secret value. I talked about this as well. If a Lambda function has this value and you're able to compromise that Lambda function, you can get access to whatever secrets that Lambda function has access to, which may allow you to do lateral movement or even privilege escalation inside of the AWS account. You also want to look for exposed secrets. There's two primary spots that you'll find exposed secrets, and we'll cover both of these in the hands-on lab next, but one is the environment variables. I already talked about that, so I won't dig down into it too much, but the second one is the source code. Remember, the way Lambda functions work is the client or the customer uploads Python or Node.js or whatever code you want to do into AWS, and then AWS runs it based on the triggers or events that come in. Well, often in source code, you're going to find hard-coded secrets. So a good thing to do on an AWS pen test is download the source code of whatever Lambda functions you have access to and then analyze the source code. Look for access keys, look for secrets, look for SSH keys, look for anything like that, kind of your typical static code review, but it's often a little more juicy to find because it's in a Lambda function, and people, from my experience, tend to forget secure coding practices when they're passing things over to Lambda. Finally, you also want to look for writable functions. If you compromise an IAM user or role who is able to write to a Lambda function, well, you might be able to take over that Lambda function. That would allow you to exfiltrate data. Maybe you can set up a backdoor. Maybe you can use it for privilege escalation. We are going to get hands-on with that in a later lab as well in the course. I'll jump back. Those are my EC2 notes, but that's everything that we need to know, at least for now, for pen testing AWS Lambda. What we are going to do next is we're going to get hands-on keyboard and begin doing this ourselves using CloudGoat. I'm super excited for that. Before we do that, though, you're going to see the next module right after this one in the next section in this module. I have an entire Lambda cheat sheet that I want you to grab and add to your notes. That cheat sheet's going to come in handy. It's going to show you how to do all of the basic Lambda enumeration, and as we work through this labs, if you refer back to that cheat sheet, you'll learn a lot and you'll be able to work through most of the lab on your own. So go ahead and grab that cheat sheet, add it to your notes, and I'll see you in the next video as we get hands-on with Lambda enumeration. Boom. Your missing parameter storage is also used instead of secret manager. Good call. Yeah, I can maybe add that as an extra note. Best viewers on steamboo.com. No, we're not going to do best viewers on steamboo.com. Get out of here, scrub. Let me jump back over to this. What am I missing in chat? Scroll up. But is there any AWS environment? Oh, wait, I already answered that question. Course sounds good. Gonna purchase. Amazing. The totally real brick wall has a projector. Yeah, the totally real brick wall, as you can see. Your natural way of explaining is so far better than the OSCP courses. They are so much scripted. Each and every word feels so irritating to hear that. Exactly. And that's what I don't like about learning or going through courses. It just feels unnatural when someone is reading a script, and you can tell, like, their eyes are looking down and they kind of read like this. And then the other thing, guys, that drives me crazy is when people just read their PowerPoint. Like, you've seen this before, right, though? But if this is my PowerPoint, I would have every single word I'm going to say on my PowerPoint, and I just stand here, overly privileged execution roles, IAM pass role, EC2, right? Like freaking Microsoft Sam from Windows XP reading off the PowerPoint. So I try to make it a little more natural. Hopefully it's less boring that way for the theory stuff. All right, let me go ahead and add this real quick to the right spot on my hard drive. So, hey, thank you for dropping in, Mary Ellen Kennel. Appreciate the kind words. Let me go ahead and grab this from my hard drive and add it to the right folder. We'll do create new module 4. rename it Lambda for pen testers. Okay, we can close this out. Minimize this, get back into my CLI terminal. Hey, Polemic, you're getting ahead of it, but yes, there is an entire lab. So Polemic, I'll give you kind of a preview, but when we get to the privilege escalation module, which is kind of pulling all the pieces together, we're actually going to find a Lambda. We're going to compromise a role that is able to write to a Lambda function. We're going to create our own Lambda function that adds our user with administrative privileges. Then we're going to use the AWS CLI to invoke the Lambda function. When we invoke it, it's going to give us admin access to the account. So you're getting ahead of it. We will be doing that in the privilege escalation module. Good call out there, though. You already see where I'm going long term. All right, let me get stuff set up for our next lab. And I'll show you guys real quick where we are at. So here's our course. We're done in 4. We just finished S3 for pen testers. This is, no, we finished that yesterday. We just finished Lambda for pen testers. I have my Lambda enumeration cheat sheet right here. And after that, we have our lab introduction and setup. And that's what we are going to do right now. And we're finally going to get hands-on with CloudGoat, which I'm excited about. Then we'll do Lambda Enumeration Council, CLI Pacu, a challenge lab, a walkthrough, destroy, and quiz. So that's where we're heading. We'll see if we can knock these out. And let me get the lab pulled up that we're going to be doing. All right, give me just a moment. All right, get Restream pulled up. Will this course be free? It will be $20 for lifetime access, but with unlimited scholarships. So anyone who is unable to pay the $20, I'll have a process where you just shoot me an email. I'll send you back a coupon code. It will cover the course for you. I don't want money to be a barrier for anyone for learning. But okay, we're going to do the intro to lab right now. I'm going to go ahead and start recording. Well, now the fun begins. We are going to get hands-on with doing some Lambda enumeration, and we're going to dive into using CloudGoat. Now, we set up CloudGoat in the beginning of this course when I had you configure your AWS lab environment. If for some reason you did not do that, you're going to want to go back to the beginning of the course, get CloudGoat installed, and get it configured. Once you have that done, you can go ahead and head to the CloudGoat GitHub. And on the CloudGoat GitHub, let me just show you some UI and how the GitHub works and how we can find these different scenarios. First, if you scroll up, just want to point myself out, right? I'm a big contributor to CloudGoat. I've created many of the scenarios that help maintain CloudGoat. So there's my face right there. But if we scroll down, you will see that we have scenarios right here, grouped by difficulty. So if you want to try out some of these scenarios on your own, give it a shot. If you look at easy, we have a whole bunch of scenarios here. The scenario that we're going to be working on for the next two, both Lambda and EC2, comes from the medium category right here. And it is the EC2 SSRF scenario. So you can see a scenario description right here. Starting as the IAM user Solus, the attacker discovers they have read-only permissions to a Lambda function, where hard-coded secrets lead them to an EC2 instance running a web application that is vulnerable to SSRF. After exploiting it, blah, 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 blah. If all of that sounds like a foreign language to you, that is okay. The purpose of this course is that you might learn. So I don't want you to be overwhelmed if that seems confusing. Once we work through this together, you're going to understand every single term that you see in this. We're going to be using this lab both for this module on Lambda as well as the next module on EC2. So we're going to go deep into this lab as I share some of the basics of both Lambda and EC2 enumeration. Now we can see right here how to create the lab. So let's go ahead and create this lab together. We'll open up our terminal. Go like this. I'm going to zoom in so you can see my terminal a little bit better. And you know what I'll do, just so I don't have to do that every time, and you can do this as well. If you want your terminal to be bigger, if you just go to File, Preferences, we can change it right here. I'm just going to go and change mine to 18. I think that'll be a good one. You guys can still see it, but it's not overly large. But let's go ahead and launch this Cloud Goat scenario. We'll do Cloud Goat, create EC2 SSRF. And you can see it's going to start creating the scenario for us in our own AWS environment. I'm going to open up a new tab. I'm going to rename my tab Terminal, and I'm going to go ahead and make a directory, and I'll call it Cloud Goat. I'll cd into Cloud Goat, and I'm going to make a directory called EC2 SSRF. So everything we do on this scenario, we can keep to one folder just so we can keep things organized here in our terminal. Finally, before diving into the actual lab itself, let's get our notes ready. I've shared this a few times in the course, but taking good notes is super important. If you went through my Intro to Hacking Methodology free course, I have an entire section there on taking good notes. So if you didn't do that, it's free. You don't have anything to lose. Just jump to that course, watch the note-taking thing, and you'll learn a lot out of it. But let's go ahead and set up notes as we work through this scenario. So I'm going to go ahead and do /page, and I am using Notion, a free version of Notion. So everything you see me do, you're able to do as well. And we'll go ahead and hit enter. Now we can create our page here, and I'm just going to call this EC2 SSRF, and we'll say it's coming from Cloud Goat, like so. I like to make it so my notes are full width like that. And if we jump over to our scenario, you can see that it is done. Once your scenario is done, you'll be provided with an access key ID and a secret, and this is the starting point for the scenario. So you'll want to go ahead and grab these keys, drop over to your notes, and we can add those. We'll actually go like this. We'll make it look more like a pen test. We'll do H1, and we'll just say initial access. And actually, when you do an AWS pen test, it's usually an assumed breach scenario where you are provided with low-level access keys and secret, just like we're doing in this Cloud Goat scenario. I'm going to add a code block. To do that in Notion, it's 3 backticks. 1, 2, 3. And I'm going to drop in the access key and the secret right there so we have the information. Once your Cloud Goat scenario launches and you have your access key and your secret, you are ready to go. Get your notes set up, and I'll see you in the next video as we learn all about AWS Lambda enumeration. I'll see you there. Boom. Another video done. One take. Let me go ahead and add that to my notes. And not my notes. Grab the video and add to the right spot on my hard drive. Let me rename, and we'll call this lab. Intro to lab. 4 minutes and 40 seconds. Thank you for being my stopwatch. I appreciate it. Zero Cool said, I use EC2 SSRF on my thesis. A very good scenario. That's awesome. What? ZeroX Ronin, where do you get ads? Do you get ads on Twitch? I apologize. I don't even know how the ad stuff work on Twitch or YouTube. So if you're getting ads, I think if you watch on YouTube, you won't get ads. My live streams on YouTube are not monetized. So if you're getting annoying ads on Twitch and you want to come watch on YouTube, you can. But at least YouTube people let me know. But my YouTube live streams, I don't monetize them on purpose so that you don't get ads. You can also sub on Twitch, which is amazing. Then you also don't get ads. But, all right, we have the intro to lab done. Let's see where we're going. All right, here's our course. Lambda for pen testers, done. Lambda enumeration cheat sheet, done. Lab introduction and setup, done. Lambda Enumeration Console, not done. Which that actually requires me logging into the AWS console. So give me just a second. I think even with Brave browser, you still get ads on Twitch though, John, if you're not subbed. They do block, that does block ads on YouTube though, but I don't think on Twitch. I could be wrong though. All right, give me just a second, guys. This is my brand new Sandbox AWS account, so I need to set up MFA real quick. So let me go ahead and set up MFA, and then I'll be able to log in. Give me a second. This is that free tier account I made on Sunday night, and I haven't logged into it since. See, add, use QR code. AWS Sandbox, save, enter in the code. Mode Gamer said, hello friends, I've been in CyberSec 3 years now, done a lot of free stuff on Hack the Box, THM, Root Me VulnLab, but struggling with getting professional cert due to lack of money. Just need any security exam voucher. Come join the Hack Smarter community. We're often doing giveaways for vouchers. Oh, really, John Doe? I'll have to check that out. Thank you. All right, I got my MFA registered. And maybe real quick, if you guys appreciate my content, let me just do some self-promotion. This is a good spot for it. But I do have Ko-Fi membership. You can give a one-time gift. You can become a member for some exclusive perks. But the link's there. Check it out. I appreciate it. Thank you. Oh, so Nox Lumens, that's a good question. Is the email you use for the Sandbox account one you created specifically for AWS, or is it something you use in other places? I'm wondering how separate it needs to be. No, it doesn't need to be separate. The thing you want to be separate is you want to make sure you are not launching CloudGoat scenarios in an AWS account you use for production. So, for example, I have an AWS account that hosts the Hack Smarter website. I don't want to launch CloudGoat scenarios in that AWS account because you're creating vulnerable by design environments and there's always a chance of you getting pwned, right? So you just want to make sure anytime you use CloudGoat, it is in an AWS Sandbox account used exclusively for CloudGoat, so you don't get yourself in trouble that way. Doesn't really matter what email you use. But okay, let me go ahead and we will dive into Lambda enumeration via the console. This video will only take like 3 minutes, I think. It's not going to take long. All right, let's start recording. As we begin doing AWS Lambda enumeration, I want to show you how to enumerate Lambda in 3 different ways. One of the big things about being an ethical hacker or a pen tester is knowing how to do the same thing but in multiple different approaches. When you are on a pen test or even doing an exam, you'll notice something happens. The one tool that you rely on exclusively to perform a specific job or exploit all of a sudden doesn't work when it matters. This happened to me when I went through the OSCP exam and I had to very quickly pivot to different tools, and this also happens to me regularly when I'm doing pen testing. So I have learned, whether it's an AWS pen test or an internal pen test or a web app, you need to be able to do the same attack or the same enumeration in multiple different ways. So I'm going to show you how to enumerate Lambda from the AWS console, which is the web GUI or the web application. I'll show you how to enumerate Lambda from the CLI or the Amazon command line interface, and I'll show you how to enumerate Lambda using Pacu, which is by far the easiest way, but you may not always have access to the CLI when you're doing an AWS pen test. So what you need to do right now is log into your Sandbox AWS account with whatever email you use to set it up with. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I've already logged into my account, but this is the account that you set up in the first part of this course when we configured our AWS lab environment. Once you log into the AWS console, you will end up here in the console home. Now, for us to enumerate Lambda from the console, we first have to find Lambda from the console. AWS actually makes this really simple because you can see up here, there is a search bar. If I can zoom in a little bit for you, but here is a search bar, and all you have to do is type up there and start typing Lambda. When we do that, you're going to see this, Lambda, run code without thinking about servers, which is exactly what we covered when we were going through our slides. We'll go ahead and click into Lambda. And once we click into Lambda, we should have this. So if this happens to you where you don't see your code, it's likely because you are in the wrong region. When I set up my CloudGoat profile, I did it in the US East 1 region, and you have to make sure you're in the right region when you're doing Lambda enumeration. So here's one gotcha that might get you when you're doing an AWS pen test. If you're doing an AWS pen test, make sure you check each region for Lambda functions. If you pull it up and it says, hey, there is no Lambda function, you might just need to check other regions. The way to change our region is in the top right corner here next to the username. This says United States, Ohio. You can see we have all these different AWS regions. We want to go ahead and head to US East 1, at least that's where I set up my own CloudGoat profile. When I go to that, you can see that apparently, we'll go to dashboard, it should be here. There we go. So over here on dashboard, you can see we have one Lambda function. So let me just jump back because this can be confusing. When you see this initially, it doesn't look like we have much, although you can see it right here, one Lambda function, but let me jump back over to US East 2. And you can see it appears we have no Lambda functions. So once again, don't let this trick you when you're doing an AWS pen test. Make sure you take the time to check each one of these regions, at least the main ones right here, to see if there's any Lambda functions that you might be missing as you're looking at the client's environment. Let me go back over to US East 1 for now. And now we have our Lambda function of 1, and we will click Manage Functions. All right, I'm gonna zoom out a little bit so it's a little bit easier to see everything. But on the Manage Functions page, this is of course a lab environment, so we only have one Lambda function. But in a real world environment, you could have 10s, 20s, even 100 different Lambda functions, depending on how the organization uses Lambda and how large the organization is. But here we have a function name, and then we have a description. Invoke this Lambda function for the win. Now that is clearly more of a CTF type scenario, but you can imagine how just looking at a description for a Lambda function might give you a little bit of information about what that Lambda function is used for. We have the package type, which is zip. We're going to get hands-on with that in the privilege escalation module. We're going to make our own Lambda function, and we have the runtime here of Python 3.11, as well as the last modified date. Let's go ahead and click into the function name. Once we click into the function name and give it a second to load, there's a few main things I want to draw your attention to. The main thing, number one, that you're going to want to look at during an AWS pen test is the code source. Now, the cool thing about Lambda here in the AWS console is it's easy to audit the static code because it will be right here in the code source. Now, once again, this one is clearly a CTF environment, so we just have a lambda.py, but a real Lambda function will have a whole bunch of different code here that you can look into. Looking at our lambda.py, it is just a handler that accepts event and context. Once we are able to invoke the Lambda function, it just returns you win, and that just signals the end of the CloudGoat scenario that we are working on. Another thing that you might want to be aware of is this download function right here. If the function code is too large, you're not going to be able to view it in the web GUI right there, and you'll want to download it locally to your machine. Well, you can do that simply with this download button right here. We can download the function code, and it will download it right here. We can open it up, and you can go ahead and unzip it. I'm going to open it in the terminal right here. But if we just unzip CG Lambda, you can see it gets the lambda.py, and we can cat out the lambda.py, and we now have access to the code that way. If the code is too large, you cannot see it in the GUI, so you have to manually download it just like that. Another thing to look at as we're looking for secrets is clicking configuration. Here in configuration, we can see a little more information. We have the description, again, the memory. None of that is super useful to us. One thing that might be helpful is the function URL. If there's a URL triggered, that when you hit this URL, it triggers the function. You can find the function URL there. But the thing that's going to be most useful for you most of the time on an AWS pen test is the environment variables. If we click into the environment variables, this is where organizations will often store secrets insecurely, and as a pen tester, you can grab these secrets and use them for lateral movement and privilege escalation, and you can see that right here. Here in the environment variables, we have an EC2 access key ID and an EC2 secret key ID. Now, you may think this is CTF-y, but it's actually not. As I've said many times already, I see this all the time in the real world. Just slowing down, looking for secrets will profit you a lot when you are doing an AWS pen test. So now that we have these secrets, I want to give you a challenge lab. I want you to take these secrets and enumerate the information these secrets might have. You can go ahead and give that a shot, and while you're doing that, I'm also going to show you how to do the same enumeration we just did using the CLI and Pacu. But that's going to be your challenge. You'll see that right after my next video. Challenge lab, enumerate what access these credentials have. We've done a lot of IAM enumeration already in this course, so I believe you can do it. But hey, in the next video, I'm just going to repeat this exact same process, but instead of using the console, we're going to use a CLI, and then we are going to use Pacu. So add these to your notes, which I'm actually going to do right now. We'll go ahead and grab these and add these to our notes. We will say, do an H2, and we'll say credentials stored in Lambda environment. Let me fix my T right there. And I'm going to drop this down for secret key. And now we have our information right there. Our AWS secret access key and our EC2 secret key ID. The other thing that might be helpful is taking a screenshot of this, but let me show you kind of a hint when you're doing an actual pen test. Let me open up Flameshot, and if I was taking a screenshot of this for a pen test, here is the proper way to do it. You can grab this, so we have the function name right here. We have this information right here, but you generally don't want to expose sensitive information in a pen test report, such as an access key or a secret. So here with Flameshot, you can hit this square right here, and you can just go like this. Show a portion of the key to show them that it is valid, but cover up the rest of it. We'll do Control-C, and we'll drop it over in our notes. And if we were writing an actual pen test report for this AWS environment, we would include this screenshot showing where we found these secret credentials. But hey, if you want, go ahead and try to enumerate these on your own. Otherwise, in the next videos, I'm just going to show you the same exact process using the CLI and Pacu. So I will see you over there. Boom. What was the time on that one? I don't even know. We'll see if our time person jumps in chat. That's 3 in a row, though. I messed up 8 minutes and 50 seconds. Perfect. I actually messed up a little bit. Don't know if you guys caught this. I said in the next one, we're doing the challenge lab. The challenge lab technically isn't happening yet, but I am just repeating the same process using the CLI and Pacu. So it's not bad enough that I'm going to actually re-record that section because it's really not that confusing. But I misspoke slightly when I talked about the challenge lab a little bit ahead of time. All right, let me add this real quick. Enumerate Lambda with console. Agendas to Tyler and Brave. You go to Settings, Shield, Content Filter, and enable Brave Twitch ad block rules and Brave Experimental ad block rules. I had no idea. Thank you for letting me know. What up, Luke? Late to the party? That's fine. The party's still going. It's an even better party now that you're here. Okay, let me show you guys where we are at. So dysfunctional functions, 5.1, done. 5.2, done. 5.3, done. 5.4, done. 5.5, starting right now. Lambda enumeration with the command line interface and Pacu. Let me get it pulled up on here. All right. Where's the function trig? Okay, we're going to start recording, and we'll cover enumeration with the CLI and Pacu. I think the CLI and Pacu are super quick, so they don't need separate videos. They'll go together well since they're both on the command line. Zoom in right here. All right, here we go. Time to start recording again. Okay. Now that you are able to use the AWS console to enumerate the Lambda function and find the access key and secret, I now want to show you how to do the same thing but using the CLI and then using Pacu. As I shared in the previous video, as a hacker, you need to be able to do the same job function but in multiple different ways, because often your favorite tool or your favorite method is going to fail you in the very moment that you need it. So let me go ahead and show you how to do this using the AWS CLI or the AWS command line interface. Now, when we launched our CloudGoat scenario, you were provided with an access key and a secret for a username Solus or Solace. I don't know how I'm supposed to say that. Let's go ahead and first configure these as a profile with the AWS CLI. We're going to open up our terminal, and this command should be familiar to you by now. We've used it a few different times as we've been working through this course, but we need to do AWS configure profile, Solace. It's going to ask us for an access key ID. Let me go ahead and copy that. It's going to ask us for our secret access key. Let me copy that. Yeah, that is correct. I thought I did it wrong because it looked like an actual word there in the beginning. Our default region name will be US East 1, and our default output we can do JSON. Now remember, when you're working with the AWS CLI, the first thing you want to run is making sure that credentials are actually valid. Now in Linux, to see who you are, it's really simple. You do who am I, but in AWS, it's more confusing. Now I told you you would have this command memorized by the end of the course. Do you have it memorized yet? Pause the video and try to figure out who you are, run that very basic who am I command in AWS, and give it a shot. All right, hopefully you tried it and you unpause the video, but this is how you run that who am I command. You will have this memorized if you don't have it memorized now. AWS, STS, get caller identity, profile, and then Solace for the user that we set up the profile as. And you can see with that, we were able to authenticate as the user. We have their user ID, we have the account number for the AWS account, and we have the ARN, which includes their username. Let's go ahead and grab this and add it to our notes. I'm just going to do an H1, we'll say enumerating with the CLI and Pacu. And we have that information right there. We'll jump back over to our terminal. Now, if you remember in the console, we went and looked at the AWS function and tried to figure out what information was in the function, the description, information like that. We can do the same thing from the AWS CLI. But first, we need to figure out, hey, what functions actually exist within the account? So in the console, we just pulled it up and saw a list of functions. It's a little more difficult in the CLI, but not terribly difficult. But here's how we do that. We'll do AWS, Lambda, list functions, region, US East 1, and profile, Solace. And you can see we have a function right here, and we actually already see the environment variables. Let me grab this, and we'll add it to our notes. And then I'll walk through what we see here. The first thing I want you to notice is why the AWS CLI in many ways is superior to the console. Remember, with the console, if you did not specify the correct region, it would appear like there was no functions in the account. And it would be time consuming to manually go up, click, change region, check, click, change region, check, click, change region, check. Well, with AWS CLI, you can see it accepts a region flag. So one kind of extra mile exercise, if you want to give it a shot, is you can write a very simple bash script that just goes through every single region and prints out each Lambda function. So I'm not going to show you how to do that. It's an extra mile challenge if you want to give it a shot, but just one way that the CLI is superior for scripting and for enumeration during a pen test. But when we run the list function, let's look at all the information we're able to retrieve. We're able to retrieve first the function name, which we also saw in the console. We're also able to receive the function ARN, or the unique identifier in the AWS account. We have the runtime of Python 3.11. We have the role, which shows us a role is attached to it. Remember in the beginning when we were going through our slides, I talked about an execution role. That's what we see going on here. This Lambda function has a role attached to it. So one question to ask as a pen tester is, what permissions does this role have? We have our handler of the Lambda handler. That's just basic default stuff. Code size, we have the description. Now this is a CTF, so not as useful to us, but in the real world, descriptions might be super helpful, seeing what the Lambda functions are actually used for. We have code information here, the SHA-256 hash. We have the variables. With one command, we were able to print the environment variables and find the access key and the secret right there. We have the same similar things that we saw when we were looking at the console. Nothing super useful here. We have the log group right here for any logging that's being done in the Lambda function that may or may not be helpful depending on what you are doing. Let me show you another Lambda enumeration. I mean, this CLI command already covers a lot of it for us. You don't have to click around the console. It's one command, and we have access to, well, basically everything. But let me show you another command, because what this doesn't do for us is it does not give us the source code. Now, our source code for the Cloud Code scenario is rather simple, but in production environments, you might have a lot of source code to look through, and you want to be able to check out the source code. So we can actually create an S3 pre-signed URL to download the source code, which is actually pretty cool. Let me show you how we can do this. We can do AWS Lambda get function name, and we want to go ahead and grab the function name right here. Profile, Solace. We'll go down to the end, gives us the same information, but you can look at this. We received this location right here. You can either curl this or just go to it in your browser. But that will download the .zip file. I already showed you how to unpackage that, but we can use that command to download the full source code for any Lambda function we are enumerating from the CLI, so then we can audit the static source code and see if there's any credentials or secrets being exposed in the source code. So that's how we do it from the AWS CLI, and now I want to show you the fastest way, and that's doing it from Pacu. I've showed you Pacu a few different times, but Pacu is sort of like Metasploit for the cloud, Metasploit for AWS. Let's go ahead and do this with Pacu. Let me get out of here. Type in Pacu to open up Pacu. We're going to hit 0 on our keyboard to start a new session. And we'll just call this session Solace because that's the name of the keys that we are using. Step number 1 in Pacu is first zoom out because Pacu doesn't like my small terminal. And we're going to import keys Solace. To import the keys, if we do who am I, you can see we have the access key ID and the secret access key for the Solace user. And we want to enumerate Lambda. Remember when we were enumerating IAM, we did search IAM? Well, anytime you're looking at an AWS service, it's worth checking Pacu if there's any functionality to enumerate that service for you. So we can just go ahead and do search Lambda. And when we do that, we have a few different things. We have some persist, which is like setting up a backdoor in Lambda. And we have an enumerate Lambda. Well, let's check out the enumerate command. If we do help Lambda enum, we can see what it's able to do. And I'll go ahead and take my face and move myself up so I'm not blocking the description for you. But it says this module pulls data related to Lambda functions, source code, aliases, event source mappings, versions, tags, and policies, which sure does seem helpful. You can also do this. If you don't specify a region, so if we just run this with no region, it will check every single region for you and pull down all Lambda function. One command, every region, all Lambda functions. Amazing, saving you a lot of time. Let's go ahead and run this. Run Lambda enum. To save time, we are going to specify the US East 1 region and hit enter on our keyboard. You can see this. This is how cool Pacu is. It enumerates it and it discovers, hey, I found 2 secrets for you. Right? We didn't have to find it manually. Pacu has a secret finder built into it that looks for potentially secret strings. And when it finds it, it prints it out to the terminal for you. So just running this command, we immediately find those 2 secrets. And if we want to see more information about it, we can actually query the Pacu database by doing this. If we type data, Lambda, you can see we have all the information that we have before, including the download URL in order for us to download the source code. So what took a lot of clicking around in the console and took a few commands using the CLI, with Pacu we run literally one command and it did everything for us, showing you the power of Pacu. Now, if you haven't already, I want you to try that challenge lab next. I have just given you, or you found yourself, an access key ID and a secret key ID. I want you to enumerate the permissions of this access key and see if you can discover what you have access to with these keys. You don't need to take it any further beyond that, but your goal is to enumerate the keys and see what permissions you have. Give it a shot, and after that, I will give you a detailed video walkthrough showing how I would approach this lab. I'll see you over there. 4 in a row, ladies and gentlemen. That's what I'm talking about. On fire. All right, let me grab this and add it to my notes. 10 minutes, perfect. A lot of meat packed into that one, in both of those, honestly. Enumerate Lambda, CLI, and Pacu. Too good tonight. Last night I messed up a few different times, but tonight it's going really smoothly. So you guys are the ones. Thank you for hanging. Oh, we just got a donation. What? From Anush. Let me check this out so I can give you a proper thank you. Thank you so much, though, for the donation. Let's check this out. Anush with the $5. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Seriously, thank you for your generosity. Thank you for your kindness. Thank you for hanging out. I really do appreciate it. You're amazing. All right, let me pull this up. Done. Challenge lab. I need to go ahead and actually write that out. Okay, add content. You have discovered access key ID and a secret access key being stored in the environment variables of a Lambda function. When you discover credentials during an AWS penetration test, you want to get a lay of the, well, let's see. When you discover credentials in AWS penetration test, it's important to enumerate your permissions. These credentials could lead to lateral movement, data exfiltration. I can't spell exfiltration. What? There's not a dash in it like that. We're going with my exfiltration. We're going to add that to the dictionary. It doesn't know what it's talking about. Lateral movement, data exfiltration, or privilege escalation. Here's your challenge. Use what you have. Well, we'll do it like this because it's not really bullet points. Here's your challenge. Use what you have learned in the course so far and enumerate the permissions of these credentials. What AWS service do you now have access to? All right, that looks good to me. Yeah, looks good. And then they'll complete and continue. And it will go to my walkthrough for the lab. All right. Which the walkthrough will be pretty quick too. We're almost done for the night, which is amazing. You're not going through the full scenario, not tonight. So we're continuing this scenario, which I think is kind of cool because it has both Lambda and EC2. And if you look at the course, this module is Lambda and the next module is EC2 enumeration. So they go hand in hand, and I like how it does both of them. So we're using both. So we're not finishing the scenario right now. But okay, let me exit out of this. All right. Hour and 13. I'm doing well. This will be the last video for the night. And then we'll do our quiz. I have a quiz all about Lambda function. So we'll go through the quiz together. We'll see if you guys have been paying attention for the past hour and 15 minutes or so. And then once we wrap up, I'll be back on tomorrow night. Same place, same time, every single night. My goal is to do a module, and so I can finish this course by the end of the week. And let me get my notes pulled up. Make sure I'm not missing anything as I'm doing this. All right, let's give it a shot. Well, how did you do? Were you able to find the permissions the new access key and secret give you? If you did, congratulations. If you did not, that's totally fine as well. I mean, you're in this course for the purpose of learning. And in this video, I'm going to give you a detailed guide on how we can enumerate these permissions. I'll show you how to do it manually using the CLI, and then I'll show you how to do it auto-magically using one of my favorite tools, which is Pacu. So let's go ahead and dive in together. Now, I will say if you weren't able to solve this on your own, that's okay, but I want to make sure you're doing this alongside of me. You learned some things by watching me do the work, but you're going to learn even more by doing it right alongside of me. So if I'm going too fast for you, the beauty of a video is you can pause the video, get caught up, and then continue. So let's do this together. If we jump back over to our notes, we can look at the access key and the secret that we were able to find. We have it right, well, we have it in a few different spots, but we have it right here, access key and secret. So step number 1 is, of course, authenticate with our new access key and secret that we were able to find. So we'll do AWS configure profile. I'm just calling it Lambda because we don't know the user behind it. And we'll grab the access key right here. And let's grab the secret. We'll do US East 1 and JSON. And now, once again, let's run that who am I command. And I want you to try it first. Pause the video. Try to run the command. How did you do? Do you have it memorized yet? Let's go ahead and run it together. AWS, STS, get, caller, identity, profile, Lambda. And then we were able to authenticate as a user named Rex. Let's add that to our notes. And we'll do a new H2 and we'll say enumerating the Lambda credentials. We have access as a user named Rex, but we don't know what permissions Rex has in the environment. So let's go ahead and see if we can figure that out together. We'll first use the AWS CLI. I'll clear my screen and I'll zoom in so you guys can see the commands well, and you're able to follow along. And I will go ahead and grab myself, if I can, and drop myself back down here so I'm not blocking any of the text for you as we type. But let's first list our inline policies. Remember, in AWS, there's two different kinds of policies to attach to a user. You have inline policies, which are policies you attach to one specific user or role, and you have managed policies, which are reusable policies you attach to more than one user or multiple groups. So let's first check our inline policies to see if there's any inline policies applied to our account. We'll do AWS IAM list user policies, our username, which we can grab from our notes right here, and our profile of Lambda. And you can see that we are not authorized to perform list user policies, so we cannot check if we have any inline policies. Let's go ahead and see if we can list groups. We'll do AWS IAM list groups, profile, Lambda. All right, we're not able to list groups either. Let's go ahead and see if we can list any attached policies to our user. We'll do AWS, and I'm actually going to clear my screen. We'll do AWS IAM list attached user policies, username, which I realize I cleared my screen, so I need to grab this username again. Profile, Lambda. And with that, we still don't know what access we have to this account, and we are kind of striking out. Now, this is where Pacu comes in handy. So let's go ahead and open up Pacu and see if we can enumerate our permissions with Pacu. We'll type in Pacu. Let's go ahead and set up another new session. I'm going to call this one Lambda, and we'll import our keys for Lambda. I'll zoom out a little bit so it's not breaking Pacu. And let's search IAM and see what information we have in IAM to do some enumeration. We have, of course, this right here to get a confirmed list of permissions for the current or all users. We can first try this command, but this command will only work if we have the permissions to run the command. And I'm going to go ahead and grab my face again and move myself back up to the corner. But let's type help on this command. And it says this will attempt to use IAM APIs to enumerate a confirmed list. This is done by checking attached and inline policies for the user and the groups they are in. Now, we already tried to do this manually, so it's likely going to fail with Pacu, but let's go ahead and run it so we can see what the error message looks like when it fails. All right, you can see this. We have list groups for user, we don't have permissions. List user policies, we don't have permissions. Attached user policies, we don't have permissions, and we have no permissions so far. So it seems like we are striking out. But let's go back and see what access we have in IAM again. If we search IAM, we have this right here, IAM brute force permissions. I actually added this module to Pacu. Let's go ahead and check it out together. If we do help IAM brute force permissions, it says this module will automatically run through all possible API calls to supported services in order to enumerate permissions. This uses the enumerate IAM library for an Andre Rianco. So let's go ahead and try this. It accepts a flag for regions. So we'll do run IAM brute force permission region US East 1. Now, what this is going to do is it's going to try a bunch of different API calls in the back end saying, hey, can I list buckets? Can I check out code deploy? Can I do this? Can I do this? Can I do this? And by the time it's done, it's going to provide us a list of permissions. You can already see, if we scroll up, what new service we have access to. Notice this. EC2 describe worked, EC2 worked, EC2 worked, EC2 worked. That's a pretty good indicator that the next service we have permission to is EC2, which just happens to be the next module in this course. Now, this takes just a few minutes to run, so I'm going to use the power of video editing. I'll jump to the end, but on your end, if you give it just a few minutes, this should complete, and you'll see what it looks like when the brute force permissions is done. All right, this is a note to Tyler in the future. This is where you'll want to edit and splice the videos together. And we'll watch, you guys can just watch it. We'll watch it all together. We'll watch it enumerate. We can turn on some music while it enumerates, because it does take a little bit. Let's see what music we got. I don't even know some of these songs. I don't know what this is. Let's try it. Some Whitey Cracker. Oh. I don't have the audio up. Ha!
I handle my business, segment and witness my musical litmus. Just for your fitness, beg my forgiveness, my records go Guinness, so be my apprentice. Unicorn hacking in Venice, angel investors, my internet tenants. Still criminal till I spill it to finish. Survival the fittest, the digital menace. I'm still in idle the scene, popping them volumes and sipping caffeine. Marshall with packets in us a routine that I write to a stream with a proxy between.
So, you know who I like more? Whitey Cracker's cool, but I just like the sound of dual core. If you guys have never listened to dual core, he's fun to listen to. Maybe we can watch a dual core video together while we wait for this to finish. Here, 1 second. We'll watch some dual core while we wait for this to finish enumerating. He's a fun guy to watch. He was at DEF CON. I think Whitey Cracker was too last year. I don't remember.
So this started last.
I mean, I don't know why they didn't ask me to perform, but that's beside the point. Here.
Last year we were playing B-sides. Virus from DC949 said to me, hey, drink all the booze, hack all the things. That's how we're doing it this year.
Not every geek with a Commodore 64 can hack into NASA.
Well, check the scan after the song.
This one's dedicated to all the hackers. Vice Star, Courage, Wolf Plus, Velociraptor. Don't prove we're human unless we really have to. My team built schemes and destroy, recapture. Hate what they see. Finish this chapter. By the way, we're not any geeks, we hack into NASA. Drink all the booze, hack all the things. Drink all the booze, hack all the things. Drink all the booze, hack all the things. Got this vodka and this Red Bull, they still give me wings, so we drink all the booze, hack all the things. Drink all the booze, hack all the things. Drink all the booze, hack all the things. 0 through 3, we're in every single ring. I'm just waiting till my BlackBerry dies, cause I'll replace it with the Raspberry Pi. Don't compare to this track, it makes everything they said dull. Neutralize any threat, turn Red Skull to Dev Null. They killed virus writers that we mentioned, but instead they ascended to the VX heavens, then reincarnate as live wires. Still inside we hide ciphers and sign device drivers. Which school will we hit next? They didn't learn the format, so we've got a print F. Next step is a chin check. Freestyles that I spit best, they didn't decrypt yet. I crush internet MCs and rhyme battles. Get your Wi-Fi tackled, hacked by pineapple. I don't think you'll like my Snapple, cause I popped it with vodka in a cyanide capsule. We drink all the booze, hack all the things. Drink all the booze, hack all the things. Drink all the booze, hack all the things. Got this vodka and this Red Bull, they still give me wings, so we drink all the booze, hack all the things. Drink all the booze, hack all the things. Drink all the booze, hack all the things.
You know there's gonna be security, right?
First we drink all the booze, then hack all the things, then backdoor the firmware on anything you bring, regardless of the hardware, service or encoding. Connected to the internet and someone's gonna own it. This is for the pirates that clap and love the sound. Attacking from the cloud, then we're back in underground. There's no masking from us now. We pop Tor nodes around the globe, track and hunt you down. Hacked on schedule, added to your calendar. Devices online, here comes another challenger. State infiltrated, so undercover. This is for my comrades who stare at the debuggers and trace every buffer. Examining the code flow, haven't been to sleep, better pop another no-dose. I think I'll need a planet-sized urn, cause some men just wanna watch the world burn. Your turn.
Stay out of jail.
Technologically possible, yeah.
Drink all the booze, hack all the things. Drink all the booze, hack all the things. Drink all the booze, hack all the things. Got this vodka and this Red Bull, they still give me wings, so we drink all the booze, hack all the things. Drink all the booze, hack all the things. Drink all the booze, hack all the things. 0 through 3, we're in every single ring.
I mean, these servers have more firewalls than the devil's bedroom.
Hack all the things. Drink all the booze.
All right, there we go. Some dual core, dude. Every time I watch that, I just like, it makes me think of DEF CON. I've been at DEF CON twice. It was fun. I'll be at DEF CON again this year. Hosting a meetup actually at DEF CON with my buddy Jerry from Simply Cyber. So if you're going to be at DEF CON, come to the meetup. We're going to have an open bar. You can hack all the things and drink all the booze if you'd like. All right, is this done? It is. Beautiful. I'm going to start recording. Well, I was already recording. I'll edit this video. So after no, I can't do that. I need to make this full screen. Now, Tyler, the feature, you can cut the recording to right here. So after giving it just a few minutes to run, you will see that we found 70 IAM permissions. Now to figure out what those are, just go ahead and type "who am I" on your keyboard, and it will show you all the permissions you have that it was able to find. Now the main permission that you're going to notice we didn't have before is all of these different EC2 permissions. And if you looked at the core syllabus, you will see once again that in the next module, we're going to talk all about hacking EC2 instances and the information that we are able to get out of those. So go ahead and add all of this information to your notes. And once you are ready to go, first do the quiz at the end of this section. See if you were able to pay attention and learn a whole bunch of stuff about Lambda functions. But after the quiz, join me in the EC2 section and we'll continue this lab. One real note on this is because this is a Cloud Goat scenario, if you want to destroy it, you can. If you're diving directly into the next module, you don't have to destroy it, but I do want to show you how to destroy this lab. This is important so that you don't get charged because you did spin up these resources in your own AWS account. We'll jump over to our terminal, and to destroy this so you don't cost any money, go ahead and do this. CloudGoat destroy EC2 SSRF. It's as easy as that. What CloudGoat is now going to do, hit Y, it's going to go into your account and tear down all of the infrastructure it made. It will tear down the Lambda function, EC2, it will tear down those IAM roles, so your account goes back to scratch, and this won't cost you anything to work your way through the scenario. Now, if you're planning to go directly into the next module, we are going to continue this scenario, so you can just keep the CloudGoat instance running. But once you are ready, I will join you over there after the quiz, and we'll continue diving into AWS pen testing. Boom. If I was playing Mortal Kombat, it would be flawless victory. That went a lot smoother than I was expecting. Let me add this to my notes. Seems like, you know, after doing this for 4 nights in a row, I'm finally getting it down a little bit. I need to add a note that I need to edit this one so I don't forget. All right. You guys ready to try the quiz? See how you do? Let me get it pulled up. All right. Here's the quiz. Let me drop myself down real quick. So you can answer A, B, C, or D. What is the primary purpose of AWS Lambda? Hosting relational databases, managing virtual machines, running code without managing servers, or storing object files? A, B, C, or D? It's always C. Guys, so I think I did accidentally make a lot of them C when I went back to the previous quiz on S3 and I changed it there, so it's not always C. But you're right, it does seem to be always C. Let me continue. Lambda functions are triggered only through HTTP requests. True or false? Lambda functions are triggered only through HTTP requests. Deathwish O says true. Asper J Faceoff says true. Nefos says B. So Nefos is right. It can be triggered by HTTP requests, but the keyword here is only. There's multiple things that can trigger a Lambda function. It all depends how it's set up in the customer's environment. So this would actually be false. Yes, it's HTTP request, but it can also be triggered by other things. Which of the following is not... Did I really do this again? I did. Anyways, which of the following is not a core component of Lambda function? Execution role, runtime environment, auto scaling group, and environment variables. Freaking C again. Yeah. I'm getting the hang. This is why, guys, I'm not a teacher at a college. You find a Lambda function with Lambda get function configuration permissions. What should you check first? VPC subnet config, auto scaling policies, Route 53 DNS zones, or environment variables for secrets. It's not freaking C this time. I promise. It is D. Nefos is right. What does the Lambda execution role define? Who can invoke the function? What triggers the function? What the function is allowed to do? And how many instances it can run? When in doubt, just say C. Yeah. Anyone with Lambda get function access can read a function's environment variables. True or false? I know, Nefos. I didn't even realize I was doing that. I'll go through and reshuffle them. Yes, that is true. Which of the following permissions could lead to privilege escalation when assigned to a Lambda's execution role? IAM pass role, EC2 describe instances, S3 list bucket, and Lambda get function. So notice the Lambda's execution role. I might reword this question because potentially, I mean, in some ways, all of these answers could be correct, right? Because if you can describe instances, you can check things like user data possibly and find other credentials. If you can list buckets, you could find credentials in buckets. And if you can do Lambda get function, you can find environmental variables. So potentially every answer is true. I need to reword this question, but it's this. This is supposed to be the right answer because then you can pass roll and take over the Lambda function, but or not take it over, but execute as it, take on the role. But every answer could be correct there. That's a bad question now that I'm reading it out loud. An attacker has permission to Lambda update function code. What can they do? Reboot EC2 instances, modify the function source code to exfiltrate data, delete IAM users, or change billing preferences. Yeah, and all the above, Neffels. That's a good idea. I'll add that. I'll do that before we sign off. Yep, B, you guys are correct. Where might credentials or secrets commonly be exposed in Lambda functions? Elastic load balancers, CloudWatch metrics, environment variables, and inline code or security groups. When in doubt, just say C. All right, we scored 100% because every question was C. Let me go ahead and fix some things real quick. You guys can watch me in real time fix it. So let's go down to our quiz question. So many things. Lambda section quiz. Let's edit this. And we'll edit this one. It's lame because I can't like drag and drop. So what I have to do is like do something like this. Then grab this. Go like that. Change the answer. We can leave that one as C. That one's D. Allowed to do... Okay, I think that's fine now. There's only 2 questions that are C. All right, we fixed that. And give you guys a snapshot of where we're heading. We've done a lot of work since Sunday night. All of 1 is done. All of 2 is done. All of 3 is done. All of 4 will be done once I get videos uploaded and start or all of 4 is done. All of 5 will be done once I get videos uploaded, subtitles done, add the written lab guide. I'm going to do all of that tonight before I go to bed, so it's done. And then tomorrow night, same place, same time, we'll dive into EC2s. My other computer is your EC2. I'll probably split up the enumeration there. But then we'll go from there to AWS privilege escalation. A lot of challenge labs on the privilege escalation is kind of tying everything together. And then finally, we'll dive into our capstone challenges and course conclusion and next steps. Don't change too many away from C. We'll never get them all correct. Yeah. All right, guys. It has been an hour and 40 minutes. Once again, one more self-promotion. If you appreciate my content and you want to support what I'm doing, you can give a one-time gift or become a member on Ko-Fi. I'll drop the link there. If you join the Hexmart support plan, you'll get early access to the course. Hopefully that means early next week, the course will be ready for beta testing. But hey, and thank you, Neffels, for the kind words. Also, real quick, a reminder I said in the beginning, when you complete this course, you will get 25% off coupons for Pwn Labs, Cyber, and Try Hack Me Cloud training. In addition, When the course releases on May 12th, everyone who signs up for the course in the first 2 weeks will be entered into a drawing to win vouchers to try Hack Meets Cloud training. I'll have 2 vouchers to give away. Each one is about a $400 value, and everyone who signs up in those first 2 weeks will be eligible to win one of those vouchers. So when the course releases, make sure you sign up right away, go through the course, learn, have a lot of fun. But that is the plan. Let's go ahead and see if we can find somebody to raid on Twitch. If you're new to my stream and you're new to Twitch, to raid somebody on Twitch just means we take all of our viewers, we all go watch somebody else on Twitch, and we just show them some love and support. Now, when we raid someone, you need to have a raid phrase. Our raid phrase is hack smarter, not harder. So if you have a Twitch account, just spam that in chat. If you're not on Twitch, which let me look at this, we have a little over 50 people on the different platforms, and about 21 of them are on Twitch. So the 30 others of you, you should come watch on Twitch so you can be part of the raid. Even if you don't have a Twitch account, you can still be part of the raid. I just dropped a link to the Twitch. Throw my headphones on and see if anybody is streaming right now. Oh, cool. The Shy Hat is streaming. I really enjoy watching him. I learn a lot from him. Let's go ahead and raid the Shy Hat. I'll get the raid set up. Oops. Raid the Shy Hat. All right, come join the raid, guys. Remember, hack smarter, not harder. I'll hang out there with you guys for a little bit while I edit these videos and get them ready for the course. But once again, thank you to all of you for taking the time to hang out with me tonight. Hopefully you learned something. I'll see you tomorrow night, same place, same time, as we dive into EC2 enumeration and pen testing. But I'll see you over in the Shy Hat raid.